Every Sunday at 5 p.m. Studio B for Strange Universe. For Strange Universe.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
Are you a fan of rock and roll? Does it get your feet tapping and your hands clapping? Then be sure to check out Crypt Rick's Rock and Roll Hour every Friday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern and Standard Time on Studio B right here at revolutionradio.com, where we get down and talk all things rock.
This is the People's War. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? See that the government...
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it.
Right! You tell them I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio!
You're tuned to something different. No scripts, no limits, just pure, unfiltered thought. This is Free Association. Your host, Dennis Barker, brings you the ideas, the questions, and the tangents that matter. Joined by the sharp wit and insight of Karen and the one, the only Dr. Lenny Time. 3 minds, 2 hours, 0 guardrails. Free Association, because the best conversations never stay on topic. Join Dennis, Karen, and Dr. Lenny Time, Thursdays at noon Eastern, Studio B, here on Revolution Radio.
The spice expands consciousness. The spice is vital to space travel.
And greetings, Earth Explorers. Welcome to X Squared Radio. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is where the past meets the future, and in here, the results are always positive. We might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. You will be safely traveling with us as we endeavor to treat, cure, and prevent the disease of ignorance. This is the voice of the revolution, and we are streaming to you live with our good friends at Revolution Radio on freedomslips.org, the #1 listener-supported network in the entire country. We're also streaming to you live on several video platforms on Rumble and YouTube and Twitch and X and DLive, Foxhole, and Truth Refugee. Everywhere where good podcasting can be found live and free. No paywalls here. No paywalls here. And the chat room is already filling up. A lot of people here today. Stanley Mays is here. Marco Seppi and Wrecking Ball. Jim Roddle is here. He's a good customer out there. Let's see. Bayonet, Tatanka Dave, East Coast 20. Gramanon. Old Lace is here. This is good. S. Barnett is here. Tupac Sugar. Herschultz. That's a good one. I like that. Bosk Burning. Herr Schultz. Oh, I get it. Okay. Mr. Schultz in German. Gotcha. Yeah, the rules are changing. I get it. Foxhole, nobody's in the house yet, but it's pretty sparse over there. We'll see what happens later on. So tonight at 9, President Trump is going to speak. We're not going to interrupt our program, and you can listen to those comments anytime you like. But he is going to address, I believe, what's going on in Iran, or what has happened in Iran. He said not much more has to happen between now and declaring victory, pointing out that regime change is a big factor. He said, we want to clean up some ends. I would call them loose ends. We've had total regime change. These are different people than anyone has ever heard of before. And frankly, they've been more reasonable. And I've been trying to tell people that. They grilled me the other day on Awake Nation about the fact that Iranian press is reporting that, what's he talking about? We're not talking to anybody. There's no negotiations here. The reason there are no negotiations there is because the faction that controls the press in Iran is not the faction that President Trump is speaking to. The faction President Trump is speaking to is the majority of the people, and they're coming in a very big way. Very, very big way. It's a big, big deal. So, yeah, there were a lot of questions about signing an executive order regarding election integrity. And you all know this already because I've been saying on this program for about a month, and I said it Monday on Awake Nation so the whole nation could hear it, that I believed that President Trump was going to invoke something like the Emergency Election Infrastructure Act. He was going to declare a state of emergency. He was going to go after the election infrastructure to try to fix the national security breach that we had in 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024. It's big, and they have all the receipts. They know what happened in Venezuela. They know what happened in China. They know what happened in Romania. They have all the proof that they need. But they don't want to tie it up into courts for the next 20 years and let the Democrats play their games. So I said what's going to happen is the president is going to step forward, and he's going to say something like, we are banning all mail-in ballots. Now, what he did do is he stepped forward and took a baby step, and that is only citizens are going to be able to order ballots. They're going to request the ballots. You cannot send ballots out to dead people. You can't send ballots out to illegals. You can't send ballots out to people who haven't voted in 30 years just to fill up the apartment address and mailbox with ballots that somebody can harvest and fill out and send back in. Only citizens can request ballots. The ballots will go out in a matching envelope. The envelope will have a barcode on it. The ballot will have a barcode on it, and it will be addressed to that person. Now, when that person gets it, they vote, fill it out, sign it, get a witness, put it back in the envelope, and mail it back in. If the ballot does not match the envelope, it's no good. If the ballot arrives after the polls close on election night, it doesn't count. So this is a baby step. It's not a step as far as I would take. I would say no mail-in ballots at all. If you don't vote in person, you don't vote. And you say, but what about the people that are in hospitals? What about people that are stationed overseas? They can still vote in person. They can still vote in person. You can send a person to their bed, get their ID, have them fill it out, have them sign it, and carry it back in. You have chain of custody all the way. Everybody votes in person. Now, I hate to say this to Washington State because you can't vote in person in Washington. All ballots are mail-in. And what happens is they just mail out. They mail out millions and millions of ballots. And then they get millions more than they mail out. And that just can't happen with this new system. Now, of course, this is going to be challenged in the courts because they're going to say the federal government has no right to tell a state how to run its elections. But like I said on Awake Nation, when the president declares a state of emergency and he links it to national security, there's not a damn thing Congress can do about it. Only the commander-in-chief can do this. Constitution gives him the power to do that. So Trump also said, relative to the speech he's going to give tonight, or the statement he's going to make tonight, that it's about 2 or 3 weeks and we're going to be out of there. Now, everybody's concerned about the Marines being there, about 10,000 troops and expeditionary forces being there. You have to understand, wars are started and prosecuted largely from the air. I agree. They can be very effective. But wars are always won on the ground. Don't start a war with the soldiers because you're going to get a lot of body bags. But you end wars with soldiers. And if we have to seize control of Karg Island and the other island that's there in the Strait of Hormuz, in order to secure the Strait of Hormuz for all shipping to go through. Now, shipping is pretty much back to normal anyway. If you look at the shipping transponders that are going through the strait, it's crazy. There's like dozens of ships every hour. So what we want to see is world trade resume. And the only way that can really resume is if the radical militant faction that's still kicking around in Iran is eliminated. And the only way that's going to be eliminated is on the ground. So look for that to be very swift. If the Marines are on the ground more than 10 days, I'd be very surprised, very surprised. Trump said on Truth Social, he signaled a willingness to negotiate and continued hardline stance against Tehran, which means the mullahs, tying any potential ceasefire directly to the reopening of the critical global shipping lane. Iran's new regime president, much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors, has just asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. We will consider a ceasefire when the Straits of Hormuz are open, free, and clear. Until then, we are blasting Iran into oblivion. Trump's made it clear that restoring free passage through the strait is a non-negotiable priority. That's no longer going to be a lever for them. And that's why the seizing of Karg Island and this other island that starts with an M, I can't remember it at the moment. Seizing those two islands and setting up defensive stations along both shores of the strait in the critical areas is going to take that lever, take that playing piece away from the mullahs. And it'll be pretty much done then. They'll be over. Officials have suggested that the coming days could determine whether the war winds down or escalates further. I'm telling you, it's going to wind down. I've not been wrong. I'm not trying to be overly optimistic. I'm just telling you. You cannot defend yourself if you have no ships, no airplanes, and no anti-aircraft ability. It's over. It's done. The only thing that can remain are mopping up operations like the checkpoints, which are still jailing citizens for having the wrong tweet on their phone, and the occasional night of terror where they're launching missiles, including cluster missiles, at Israel. To do nothing except just kill people and break glass. And we say that that's terrible. We say that that is intolerable, but they have been doing it since Obama got started. Since Obama sent them the money to build up that war machine, and Biden sent them more money and lifted the sanctions. Between Obama and Biden, they spent about $450 billion building that war machine. They built that war machine. They sent the money to him and the intelligence to him, and they built that war machine. If the crimes that they have committed against America would ever be prosecuted, it would absolutely blow your mind. How much Obama and Biden aided and abetted the enemy. But let's all set that aside. You're talking about 8 years and hundreds of billions of dollars that Obama and Biden spent trying to build up Iran so that it could take out Israel. That's his primary purpose. That's all it was focused on. It's taken 30 days for Trump to take it apart. Give the guy a break. 30 days to take apart what Obama and Biden took 8 years to build. Right. Hundreds of U.S. Special Forces, including elite Navy SEALs and Army Rangers, have been deployed to the region alongside Marines and paratroopers. And let me tell you something, you don't threaten these guys. You don't get in their way. Department of War officials have reportedly explored potential operations targeting Iran's nuclear assets. The radicals in Iran have said, we're never giving up the nuclear material. We've got it hidden away, and you're not going to get it. Well, Tulsi Gabbard said in a meeting the other day that they had a good idea where it was. She wasn't going to reveal it in that meeting, even though the Democrats tried to pull it out of her so they could warn Iran that we knew. But we're going to go back and get it. And we're going to make sure that all that plutonium, all that uranium that they enriched is going to be removed. Let's see. Trump said, all there is left to do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon. Despite Iran publicly denying formal negotiations, as I told you, that's the faction that has control of the main media in Tehran. Officials on both sides have acknowledged indirect communications through intermediaries, fueling speculation that a deal could be within reach. And we have seen several videos being posted because, or at least not because, I told you on Sunday that the main jamming station in Tehran, they actually had a facility in Tehran which job was to jam all the free radio. They did not want any podcasters. They don't want any announcers. They don't want any message of hope from the U.S. or from Israel or from anybody to be broadcast in Tehran. Only the state-approved propaganda. Well, we blew the shit out of that building. There's nothing there now. So all the radio, like America Free Radio, not America Free Radio, but radio like America Free Radio, is now available in Iran. And tens of millions of people are now getting the message. Here's what's happening. Have hope. Put this away. Put that away. Don't riot against forces trying to help you. All kinds of great messages, right? And what we have seen as a result of that are IRGC soldiers in uniform making videos saying there's nothing left to do but surrender. And it's getting out because it can't be jammed now. Trump's latest remarks make it clear that any agreement will come on our terms, not on their terms. They're not in a position to dictate terms. As energy markets remain volatile, and by the way, it's not just the energy markets. Have you experienced what the hell the Fed is doing right now? You remember when interest rates were 6.5% and then employment was up and inflation was down and everything was looking good? Interest rates were supposed to come down. Oh no. Oh no. The Fed is all worried about what's going on in Iran. They're all worried about it, even though the economy is trying to do really, really well. And what they've done is they've actually raised interest rates. Yes, they're back up to 6.9%. So somebody trying to buy a house, a $450,000 house, they're looking at in excess of $4,000 a month for a house payment. Yeah, $50,000 a year for a house payment. And that's not an outrageous house. This is probably a 10, 15-year-old house with a little bit of mildew and a leaky roof. Yeah. So it is not just gas prices. The Fed is also putting the screws to the people because they want to hurt President Trump. They want to hurt the Trump economy. They want to hurt you. As Trump has said from the very beginning, and I've backed him up 100%, Trump is not their enemy. Trump has been their friend for 35 years. Everybody loved Trump. Everybody liked to have him cut their ribbons and write checks and show up. Everybody loved Trump. What they hate is you. They hate you. They want to defeat you. They want to break you. They want to enslave you. President Trump is standing between them and you. And that's why they're attacking him. They're not trying to destroy him. They're trying to destroy you. You get it? You understand? So it'll be interesting what he says tonight, but I think it's going to be a lot of the same stuff. The fact that he has a primetime slot means he's going to reach people that ordinarily he wouldn't be able to reach. If he was putting it out on Truth Social or X or on one of the conservative news programs, only MAGA is going to hear it. The people that need to hear it never will hear it. That's why he's coming on at 9 o'clock tonight, prime time. What are you going to watch? What are you going to watch? You going to watch The View? Oh, give me a break. By the way, I believe they've been canceled. Irreconcilable differences with reality. That's what was stated, which I think is probably true. But I think The View actually served their purpose, you know. All those squawking old heifers on there, they served their purpose. They showed us the ass of the Democrat Party. So we really need to see that. It's kind of like having a statue from the Civil War, from a Civil War general like General Lee. No, the Civil War was not a good thing. But having the generals and their epitaphs there at the base of their statue lets us know what not to do again. We don't idolize them. We remember them and try to not go there again. That's what the view is. The view is to remember what annoying assholes Democrats are and put it out there every single day. These squawking old heifers, that's what they do. And just be happy. Just be happy that you don't have to smell them at the same time you listen to them. All right. There's a conversation going on in the chat room, and I'm not sure what it is. The best thing about this war is it will stop funding NATO and Ukraine. That's right, Stanley. I think what's going to happen is what you call NATO, I call the Pan-European Army. The Pan-European Army in the last few decades has been a very aggressive, imperialistic force. They have conquered 63 sovereign nations. They didn't bring them under their wing. They conquered them. They assassinated their presidents. They blackmailed them. They put them into debt traps. They threatened them in every way possible. But they took over 63 sovereign countries. And they tried to tax the piss out of them. But a lot of them don't have piss to pay. So NATO is in financial trouble. NATO doesn't really have a mission because since 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed and it went back to being normal states, there hasn't been a need for NATO. Nobody has threatened Europe. Nobody has threatened Poland or Turkey or Germany. No one's threatened them, least of all Russia. Russia was supplying them gas, cheap. And it was the United States that destroyed the Nord Stream pipeline. Yeah, well, I say the United States. Victoria Nuland and her CIA operatives, they destroyed the Nord Stream pipeline, which cut off the gas supply to most of Northern and Eastern Europe. That's what we did. We did that. Why did we do that? Well, maybe we did it to eliminate the competition against another pipeline that we were trying to get built. Oh, what was that pipeline? Well, it was a pipeline that went from Iran through to the Mediterranean into Southern Europe. Yeah, it was ISIS. It was that whole Arab Islamic force. That's what it was based upon. It was to run that pipeline that way. Of course, it's not being run, and running a pipeline across the Med's pretty damn hard anyway. But the point is that the Pan-European Army is about to be cut off from funds by the United States. And I think it's long overdue. The United States used to be the main contributor. And also, if you go back and look at Hillary and what Victoria Nuland were doing, we were the ones that were giving NATO the orders anyway. They're the ones that flew their jets into Libya and assassinated Muammar Gaddafi and stole all of his missiles, rockets, and grenades and sent them to ISIS along with intelligence. They're the ones that did that. It wasn't the United States. It was NATO under the direction of Victoria Nuland and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. This was 2011. Don't you remember? You have to remember this. When they went in, and because Muammar Gaddafi was giving all the benefits to Libyans, but there were a bunch of illegals in Libya who also wanted the benefits, and he said, hell no, I'm not giving you free housing and free education and free healthcare. That's for Libyans. Our wealth is for Libyans, not for you. And what Hillary and Victoria Nuland went in and did, as they took jets in there and they whipped the Libyan army and they chased Muammar Gaddafi into the streets and shot him in the face like a dog. And then Hillary Clinton went on daytime TV and laughed about it. Yeah, we came, we saw, he died. Ha 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 ha. You remember that? You have to remember that. That was 2011. In 2012, an ambassador from Tripoli decided to make the trip down to Benghazi to say, hey, what's up? I love the people here. Why can't we get something going? He shows up at Benghazi, and what does he discover? Holy Mother of God! We were sending missiles, rockets, and grenades using the CIA, loading them on ships and sending them to ISIS. He called the State Department. What the hell is up? What's going on here? 600 times they called from Benghazi. And then Chris Stevens arrived and said, what do you mean you've called 600 times? Let me have the phone. Give me the phone. And he tried several times. And Hillary Clinton said, why don't you just hold the line? Hold the line. I'll be right back with you. And within an hour, they attacked Benghazi and they killed everyone there, or tried to kill everyone there. That is what happened in Benghazi. And if you don't have an idea what really went on, you're buying what the mainstream media is telling you, you need to read Charm of Favor. Because Charm of Favor has a couple chapters that deal with Benghazi, and it will piss you off because it's true. Everything that happened in there, I took a little bit of artistic license with some people that may not exist. But in order to get the conversations going, I had to create these characters and put them in there. But everything that happened is true. Chris Stevens didn't die of smoke inhalation. Chris Stevens was raped to death. You understand what I mean? These gay assholes in the Muslim Brotherhood attacked under the orders of Victoria Nuland and Hillary Clinton, and they raped him to death. And then they went after the CIA station. I don't know what to say, Tupac. I can't deal with it. I can't picture it. I'm not going to talk about it. These people are as evil as Lucifer himself. And it just hurts my heart to think about it. It's 10 days. Yeah, they're going to be in space for 10 days. By the way, did you watch the launch? Wow. That thing was fast. It was right up there fast. And by the way, I'm going to laugh my ass off next week when they make their way to the moon. You domers, you got to get a life, man. You got to listen to this program more. You need to lose this fantasy about the dome. You'll see. And of course, you'll probably say that they faked the whole thing and, it was made as a AI movie or whatever, but I don't know if you'll believe it or not. Yeah, that's right. They're all demon spawn. They're demon spawn. Boy dogs do. Exactly right. All right, let's talk a little bit about small business. This stuff gives me the red ass. Private employers, we call them small business, people like me, added 62,000 jobs in March. Can you believe that? It blew past the 40,000 gain economists had forecast, according to the ADP National Employment Report, which was released today. The better than expected result was driven by small businesses in America, people with 20 or less employees. Right. They added a striking 112,000 jobs, powering small business hiring gains for a second consecutive month. The burst of microfirm hiring more than offset cautious headcount management at larger companies. Larger companies are dealing with AI, they're dealing with automation. They're also dealing with poor marketing and poor manufacturing practices. I can enlighten you just a little bit. There are major companies that have been around for over 100 years. They're worth who knows how much. They're in the Fortune 100. I know because I consulted with them. And for some reason, their product was not featured prominently in the retail stores where their product is normally bought. Now, if I was that company, and I used to be, but if I was that company, I would go to those retail establishments with better donuts. Yeah, I would go with better donuts. I'd go with some bling. I'd go with something to say, hey, my product's here in the back of the store by the cabinets, and I want it out here in the front with the stoves and the washing machines where people can see it. I don't want people to have to look for it because they want my brand. I want them to see my brand, open and close the doors and compare my brand against the other companies because I think I can compete heads up. They didn't do that. So their marketing and their manufacturing processes were hurting. This is what the big companies are going through. And what are they having to do? Well, they got to go back to their suppliers and say, hey, we want some credit here. We want credit on all this plastic. We want credit on all this wire. And they're going, why? There wasn't anything wrong with it. And they're saying, well, maybe there wasn't anything wrong with it, but we need the money. I promise you that's the way they're doing business. I swear that's the way they're doing business. But see, small business owners don't have that issue. Small business owners are for generally local markets, but also online markets. There are a lot of companies with 20 or less employees that have a presence on TikTok, on Facebook, on X, and they're effectively using their social media presence as well as their local bricks and mortar locations. And guess what? They're doing pretty well. They're doing pretty well. Pay for job stayers rose 4.5% year over year for the third straight month, more than double February's 2.4% consumer price index. And this delivers real wage gains of roughly 2%. That's not bad for a single month. Workers who switched jobs fared even better. Most of them, it says here, the average pay was up 6.6%. But I have to tell you, I never made a move unless it was 20%. I stayed where I was unless the other company who wanted me even worse gave me 20% more money. And then I would move. And sometimes it was a year, sometimes it was 3 years, sometimes it was 5 years. But that's the way it works. And a lot of these small business owners remember something that the big companies and even you forgot. And that is, and listen closely now, stop that. Shh. Quiet in the chat room for a second. You need to understand it doesn't matter who you work for. You work for yourself or you work for your neighbor or you work for the company down the street and wear somebody's uniform. You are always in business for yourself. Okay? You are selling your welding skills or your painting skills or your sewing skills. You're selling your skills. And your job security begins with your left foot and ends with your right foot. As long as you have that mindset, I'm in business for myself. What is good for me? What am I worth? And that doesn't mean sitting around 6 hours out of 8 doing nothing, which we do see a lot of in business. We see it in the office world. We see it in human resources. We see it sometimes in engineering. Guys sit at their desk all freaking day long and draw prints. Been there, done it. I'm just telling you. I've worked next to guys in the cubicles, and they don't move. For 6 months, they don't move. They sit there and draw. And they don't make much progress. I make a big difference when I go into a place like that. Huge difference. Because what happens is their boss begins to see 90% of the work, whether there's 10 or 20 guys in that pool, 90% of the work's coming from me. And of course, it pisses other people off because you're making us all look bad. So what? I'm in business for myself. Manufacturing workers saw pay gains of 4.9%, outpacing the national average despite the sector shedding 11,000 jobs. Some of it because of AI, but I think most of it because of bad marketing and bad manufacturing processes. The above average wage growth suggests manufacturers are investing in retaining and attracting skilled workers even as they adjust headcounts. A sign of a sector repositioning rather than retreating. And here's an indicator. The enlistment age cutoff for the armed services was raised to 42. Are they desperate? Oh no, everybody's at 100%. Their recruiting is at 100%. So why do they want somebody 36, 38 years old? Because they want their skill. They want their experience. Now, of course, I went in the service when I was 17, right? And what's the very first thing they do? Well, they break you down, right? You don't know how to fold your laundry. You march in line, do this, do that, pick this up, put that down. They break you, and then they rebuild you their way. It's called military bearing. Well, military bearing doesn't mean shit if you can't do anything. If you're not an asset to the lab or to the motor pool or wherever it is you work in the service as some support personnel, you have no skill level. That's why you only get one stripe or two or maybe three. To get that fourth stripe, you have to re-enlist, and you better show some skill. You better have passed those correspondence courses with high marks, or they're not going to promote you. So what they're looking for is that 25 to 30, 35-year-old guy that has experience. He has a college degree. He has 10 years in the industry that they're looking for, in computer programming and technology. Do those guys need to be physically fit and be able to hit a target at 150 yards with the M16? No, but they need to be able to do other things. And that's why the enlistment age was changed. Construction added 30,000 positions, and a lot of them right here in Hickory. There's construction going everywhere here. Education and health services gained 58,000, reflecting strong domestic demand for building and healthcare workers. Natural resources and mining contributed 11,000 jobs because Trump has opened it all back up again. Because of the tariffs, too. They need to compete now with the foreign sources. The information sector, as I just described, which includes technology firms, added 16,000. Trade, transportation, and utilities was one weak spot, shedding 58,000 jobs, while manufacturing lost 11,000. Regionally, the South dominated. I guess we're in the South here in North Carolina. It's kind of iffy whether we're mid-Atlantic or South. But we added 101,000 jobs with the West-South Central Division, anchored by Texas, contributed 50,000 of those gains. The better-than-expected report suggests that rising energy prices and concern over Iran war did not weigh on hiring in March. Exactly what President Trump and Carolyn have been trying to tell us. The report sets the stage for Friday's government employment report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which I don't really trust, which is expected to show a rebound from a February that was depressed by a major Kaiser Permanente strike and several winter weather issues. And we had them here in North Carolina too. Snow like we have not seen in decades here. And of course, after that cleared up, we thought, oh, right, we can get back to business. We can get down to 4-day delivery times. And then what happened? They shut the damn government down. Yeah, it's really impacted us. And all you people out there that have been buying product from me for 5 years, know this, it's not my fault. I bought enough product to go all the way to May with 4-day delivery times, all the way to May. And I bought it in January. The first 2 weeks of January. I bought it all. It's stuck in New York. It can't get through customs because the damn government is shut down. We're getting 1, 2, 3 cases a week when we should be getting 10 to 15 cases a week. That's the issue. It's not my fault. We're all in the same boat together. So let's make it together. Hang in there. I promise. We will ship every last box. All right. I already talked about the Election Infrastructure Act. The measures in this executive order, they're going to take federal data. They're going to ensure that and by the way, they have 29 states are already signed on. 29 states have already cleaned up their rolls. They're already on board with this. It's only 21 states that are being tough about this and why the executive order was necessary. We're going to ensure that each state's election officials are provided with a comprehensive view of who the eligible voters in their jurisdiction actually are, allowing them to properly verify that everybody voting in their elections is legally able to vote. And they're alive. They're alive. Mark Wayne Mullen, who's the new Secretary of Homeland Security, he's not letting up at all. He is tasked with establishing state citizenship lists for each state. Kristi Noem was trying to do that, but she had her hands full trying to deport Democrat voters, and she was very successful in deporting over 800,000 Democrat voters. The list will include U.S. citizens residing in that state who will be at least 18 at the time of the next federal election. The order also directs the Postmaster General, the U.S. Postal Service, to take bold new measures to verify that ballots both being sent to people are being sent to people who are eligible to vote. And then, and this is the most important part, the ballots being returned are being properly returned by eligible voters only. And steps are being taken so that, here's the steps. In years past, what has happened is there has been some demarcation on the envelope of the mail-in ballot or the absentee ballot. And the demarcation is this a Republican vote or a Democrat vote? On the outside, on the envelope, okay? Either a D or an R showing through a little hole in the envelope or something on the envelope itself. You request a Republican ballot, you get a Republican envelope. You request a Democrat ballot, you get a Democrat envelope. And what has happened, and there's strong evidence, there's receipts out the ass for this, is the post office. The post office was destroying Republican votes. They were destroying or losing Republican votes because they knew they were Republican votes because the envelopes were different. Now they're not. Now you cannot tell from the outside whether it's a Republican or a Democrat vote. This is a very, very big change. Very big change. It cracks down on the election abuses of the past. They believe that combined, the measures in this executive order will help secure elections in the future and ensure that many abuses of our election system in the past aren't repeated in future elections. Mr. Lutnick said that barcodes on mail-in ballots are among the measures the postmaster is directed to implement. The states run these elections. If they want to use the U.S. Postal Service, they're going to get a code, a barcode from the U.S. Postal Service, and they're going to put that down on the envelope. And we will have one envelope per vote. Yes. Trump asserted that Democrats like mail-in ballots because they can seek to use them for cheating because their policy is so bad. And we've already talked about the methods of cheating on this program for a long time. The counterfeit ballots that are printed, already voted, one by one, and put on pallets and shipped to the counting station at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, or the next day, however long it takes them to print them, depending on how many they need to win that precinct. And then those ballots are just picked up off the pallet and run straight through the voting machine. And you've seen it. You've seen the video of it. Everybody has known about this. And they come in sequential order, like 83, 84, 85, 86, and they're all for Biden, 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 Biden. We saw it. We witnessed it. Could we stop it? Yes, we could have. Of course we could have. But would the governor do it? No. 15 states signed the compact, the contract with Common Cause. They compromised their own voters in their own state. They went against the majority of their own state, and they allowed the counterfeit ballots to slide right in and disenfranchise their populations. 15 states. Look them up. Common Cause. Common Cause. Massive, multi-billion-dollar election cheating system. I only found out about it because Colorado was the 15th state to sign. I read a little article. What do you mean the 15th state to sign what? I started investigating and my face went white. Like, oh my God, what's going on here? That's what I talked about for a long time. All right, let's see what's going on with birthright citizenship. We got a few minutes left in this hour. I probably will not finish this in this hour. Today, the Supreme Court heard arguments, and I listened to most of them. I have to tell you, there's a lot of vacuous arguments that go on in the Supreme Court. Really. And the press, of course, is playing the game. The Supreme Court is casting doubt on President Donald Trump's restrictions on birthright citizenship in a consequential case that was magnified by Trump's unparalleled presence in the courtroom. Well, let me say, he was not there to be schooled. He was there to show the court how important this was to the nation. Conservative and liberal justices today question whether Trump's order declaring that children born to parents who are in the United States illegally or temporarily are not American citizens comports with either the Constitution or federal law. But that is not the only argument that's going on here, because if you go by just the Constitution, I'm sorry, you're done. The 14th Amendment, or even 14.1, that's it. There is no birthright citizenship. That's not where the support is. If you just go by the Constitution, you're pretty much screwed. That isn't where the support is. Where the support is two lawsuits that took place, 1866 and 1898. Okay? The first lawsuit concerned Native Americans. Children born to Native Americans on a reservation are, quote, not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and therefore they were not citizens. There was a lawsuit filed. That lawsuit ruled, okay. Children born to Native Americans are American citizens by birth. That was the first lawsuit. Pretty clean cut. Why did they have to do that? They had to do that because there was no way any illegal or any tourist or any diplomat could have an American citizen by birth. That's why they had to do it. And the second lawsuit, 1898, the Kim Wong-Ark case. I just discussed this with you on Sunday. That case was unique in the sense that Kim Wong-Ark was born in this country in San Francisco, lived to be an adult, in this country, owned a business, had a home, decided to go back to China to visit family. That was all fine and good. But when he came back to the United States, they did not allow him entry. At the time, there was anti-Chinese immigration law in place. I guess that year or that period of time, they felt like too many Chinese were coming, and so they decided to write a law saying no Chinese can immigrate. And what he said is, look, I am not an immigrant. I'm not an immigrant. I'm not a Chinese citizen immigrating to the United States. I was born here. I have a domicile here. I have a business here. I don't even hardly speak Chinese, but be that as it may. He won the lawsuit. That lawsuit is the lawsuit that introduced birthright citizenship, in a sense. Now, that's 1898. It is now 2026, okay? That's 137 years? 138 years. During that 138 years, how many years do you think Republicans controlled government? I'm open for guesses. That by government, I mean a Republican president, a Republican-controlled Senate, and a Republican-controlled House. How many years do you think? 138 years. The answer is 12. 12 years out of all that time. Even President Trump, his first term, did not control government, but for 2 years. Democrats controlled government. No, it's 12. But think about it. 12 years was not enough time to address the immigration problem. The other 126 years, Democrats controlled it. And so what did the Democrats do? They imported voters. And of course, nobody in 1898 could foresee the birth tourism business giving birth to about 160,000 babies in this country that are basically women that got on a plane, came here, and popped a baby out. And it's worse than that, because there are Chinese billionaires, and believe me, there are a lot of them. Some of these guys have 50, 60 kids. Not kidding. They take the egg from their wife and their sperm, and they create a zygote. That's a little like multi-celled beginning fetus. They implant it into a surrogate woman. And the surrogate woman will probably be a U.S. citizen. They pay her. They pay her expenses, they pay her medical bills, and they give her about $50,000 for 9 months' work. Or sometimes more. She has that baby here in the United States, and that baby is an American citizen because it was born here. And then the Chinese parents come over and get the baby and go back to China. Yeah, surrogate mothers, not even the real mother. Not even the real genetic parents, I'll put it that way. A surrogate mother gives birth to an American citizen simply because it's born here. We'll be right back after this break. Please don't go away. You know I'm right. You know I'm right, and the Supreme Court knows I'm right. We'll be right back.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
Tune in to the Family Industrial Complex podcast here on Revolution Radio, Studio B, every Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Get fit, empowered, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
The rooster has crowed out the opening bars of a new day. You've dragged yourself out of bed. You turn on your device. You want to know what's going on in the world. But you're hungry for a topical show that serves up those breakfast headlines just that little bit differently. Do you like your early morning news the way you like your eggs over easy? Served with slathers of salsa-like sass? Do you like those first headlines of the day to deliver a punch as powerful as that first cup of joe? Join Mitchell Bupp at his breakfast table for Revolution in the Morning, where he will digest, dissect, and dismantle those new day's national and global news headlines with razor-sharp relish. Find Mitchell here at revolution.radio every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on Studio B.
Through everything, we have to remember that we have more in common than not in common. And to find this common ground, tune in to Conversations with Eagleflower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio A. Because we come to this table of life to learn in the best possible way and experience this gift of life from our mutual Creator. So let's learn together and build our best future with Conversations with Eagleflower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Studio A on Revolution Radio.
I will defend myself against their tyranny. Number 3 is my radio broadcast. I'm squarely in front of the public all the time, and they all know what's going on.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
Hello, my name is John Wayne, and I do a broadcast here at freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, called The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
Freedom and fear are at war.
And folks, I assure you, we are in Defense Condition 1. As we journey perilously through this paradigm that we currently reside in, and I ask that you join me every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
We shall never surrender.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for hanging in there while we took that short break. Now back to America Free Radio with host Brooks Agnew here at Revolution Radio.
So fantastic, that station identification from Revolution Radio. We love our Revolution Radio listeners. They're out there listening on TalkStream Live and iHeart and TuneIn and Orange and we love them all out there listening while they're working on their favorite project or driving around listening in their car. Thank you so much for listening to America Free Radio. Those of you listening on video can follow me very easily, but I want all listeners to pay attention because we're going to visit my website, which is brooksagnew.com. Once you get there, you'll know you're there because it'll say, I'm Brooks Agnew. There's my picture. Come on, it's pretty easy, right? There are only 2 buttons on this page. I'm making it as easy as I can, Earth Explorers, as easy as I can. You can do anything up here on the menus, of course. There's lots to peruse. But you can get my free newsletter by just clicking the right button, giving me your name and your email address, and I'll send you a link to this show and some links to other goodies twice a week. Delete it, read it, share it with friends, whatever. But the left-hand button is Ivan, Roxy, Fenben, and Mebend with no prescription. So I'm going to click on that. I've got some stuff to show you here. This is going to take you to a special page inside my website. And these are supplements, and I'm going to show you this table right here. This is ivermectin versus fenbendazole versus mebendazole. Okay, you've been hearing about these for a long time. Here are the 12 active functions of these medications and what each of them do. Okay, now all this is backed up by patents, is backed up by tons and tons of medical research. I'm putting this table on there to reassure you everything you've heard is true. And also to reassure you that if you purchase this digital report from me, then I'm going to send you 100 free samples of this product. And if you purchase this medical report, you're also going to get 100 fenbendazole. And this one, 100 mebendazole. These are 500 cc, by the way. This is the maximum strength. And I want you to pay close attention to this statement right here. Mebendazole may also be used for therapy of various cancers and has been shown to reduce or eliminate tumors. It is antiparasitic drug with over 40 years of safe use, and this comes directly from the patent abstract. Okay? And the other is hydroxychloroquine. Now, the hydroxychloroquine, I have lots of this in stock. If you order hydroxychloroquine, and this is really effective, if you don't believe me, just look at the, it's not on this chart here, but if you look at the research on hydroxychloroquine, if you get that cold down in your lungs, this is the product that delivers you from evil right here. I can deliver it the same day. So if you order it today, I will ship it tomorrow and you'll get it in 3 days max. I have it in stock. If you want to know more, you can order the book, Fenbendazole and Ivermectin Protocols, a practical handbook, and don't forget about your True Niagen. I have thousands of clients, customers, who use True Niagen. None of them want to give it up. This is the compound that makes you younger. It doesn't make you look younger. It doesn't make you feel younger. Well, it does make you look younger. It makes you younger. That is to say, your telomeres and your chromosomes are maintained and your mitochondria and your muscles is improved, which is how you metabolize ATP for energy. If you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, remember, you stop making NAD at about age 45. You make a little quantity, but not enough. And when you die of old age, it's called malnutrition. It's called malnutrition. It's because your DNA can't process it anymore. Stop it. Stop it. Reverse it. Take the True Niagen. I take 600 milligrams a day. I swear by it. And don't forget about your zinc. You got to be able to get this into your cells. And this zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B complex is how to get it into your cells. I use it. I take it every single day. Recommended by my doctor. And I love it. And don't forget about if your A1C numbers are up, and you know what I'm talking about if you're pre-diabetic, this is the stuff. It's called Insuless. It means less insulin. 2 or 3 drops under the tongue, 2-3 times a day. Sublingual transfer to the bloodstream. It doesn't go through your stomach. It lowers your A1C numbers. There are customers I have out there who swear they're knocking 4, 5, 6 points off their A1C with Insuless. And don't forget about the fluoride-free toothpaste. Come on, people. Don't put fluoride in your mouth anymore. Just switch to the Himalayan. It's the same price as Aquafresh or Crest or Colgate, but without all the poisons. Okay, let's get back to it because we got stuff we got to talk about. We were discussing the birthright citizenship and the argument that went on today in the Supreme Court. It isn't done. Okay, they're not going to make a decision this afternoon. The case that frames another, of course, test of Trump's assertions of executive power, among other things, but don't expect a definitive ruling until, I don't know, June or July. I'll say that, June or July. Because there's a lot of thinking that has to be done about this. You can't just, if you go by the Constitution, the answer is easy. What the hell have we been doing? I mean, of course illegals are not eligible to give birth to citizens. Of course tourists and diplomats are not allowed to have babies that are citizens, if you just go by the Constitution. What they're really leaning on, as I said, is this 138 years of precedent. Well, we've been doing it this way for so long. I mean, we've had all these citizens because the Democrats have been in control of government all that time, except for 12 years. And what are you going to do? What president ever wanted or could have the balls to tackle this? None. And that's why they've stuck it to us all this time. And now they're saying, well, gosh, we've been doing it for so long. We can't do those people wrong. Yeah. You remember the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade? You know what they could have said? Well, we've been doing it this way for so long. No, they overturned it because it belongs back to the states. This is an executive order that says you can't just fly here and have an American citizen. It would upend everything since 1898. And by the way, it was the Wong-Kim arc, not Kim Wong arc. I got his names mixed up. The 14th Amendment was intended to ensure that Black people, including former slaves, had citizenship. Through the Citizenship Clause, it's easily written more broadly, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Well, if somebody's waving a Mexican flag or waving a Honduran flag, they're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. They're still Mexican. They're still Honduran. They're still Guatemalan. I see Guatemalan politicians today in the United States loudly declare, I'm a Guatemalan first and an American second. Right? You hear it all the time. The lower courts have struck down the executive order as illegal, or likely so, under the Constitution and federal law, but it's more the federal law than the Constitution. The decisions have invoked the High Court's 1898 ruling in the Wong-Kim arc, which held, as I said, Wong was born in the United States to illegals, had a business, had a home, left here to go to China to visit family, and when he came back, he was denied entry. He was denied entry because he was called an immigrant from China, and he said, I'm not from China. I'm from the United States. Those are the grounds upon which he sued, and he won. The Trump administration argues that the common view of citizenship is wrong, and it has been wrong for 138 years. Asserting that children of non-citizens are not subject to this jurisdiction of the United States and therefore are not entitled to citizenship. The court should use the case to set straight this long-standing misconception about the Constitution's meaning. Sauer, who is the Solicitor General, did a fantastic job laying this out. No court has accepted that argument, and lawyers for pregnant women whose children would be affected by the order said the Supreme Court should not be the first to do so. Yes, it should. Yes, it should. And of course, Ms. Wang, who was the lawyer for the American Civil Liberties Union, was completely on the wrong side of history. The bottom line is more than 250,000 babies born in the U.S. every single year are going to be affected by this executive order. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. We have focused largely on illegal immigration, and it should be stopped. This is the break in our immigration system. By the way, the Trump administration has revealed that as a national security measure, it has canceled the visas of a staggering 80,000 people from other countries since January. It's just April. And this includes about 16,000 for drunk driving, 12,000 for assaults, and 8,000 for theft. And I say, if you see something, you do something. Well, what do you do? How do you do it? Let me show you. Let me show you right here. You guys can take a screenshot of this if you want to. Look closely. Report illegal aliens in your neighborhood, at your schools, at your work, at church, at restaurants. Here's the number, okay? 866-347-2423. 866-347-2423. Write it down. Take a screenshot of this. I'll leave it up for another 30 seconds. If you see something, do something. You can't escape social media. You can't. And we're all over this. We're all over this. We're going to make this happen right here on this program. Okay, let's get back to it. If you see something, do something. All right. Last Sunday, I told you we were talking about the moon base, the moon colony that's on the table now. And we talked about the $20 billion that NASA has set aside to build a lunar colony. Well, it ain't enough. It's not enough. Believe me, having been associated with NASA for a long, long time, both as a contractor, as a consultant to contractors, and as an enthusiast, NASA will burn through that money in about 20 weeks, and nothing, absolutely nothing will get done. That's what they do. That's what they do. They spend money. But I also told you another breakthrough, and I wanted to bring this up tonight with you because it's important. SpaceX. SpaceX is a privately held company. It makes $14 million profit for every single launch. And by next year, there will be a launch every single day. That's how much money they're making. And SpaceX has confidentially filed for an initial public offering, an IPO. It's setting up a June listing on the U.S. Stock Exchange. And I predict right here on America Free Radio tonight that it will be the largest public offering in history. It'll be the largest public offering in history. Tesla went public through a reverse merger, and the stock was being naked shorted something horrible by Citigroup. I mean, like 100 million shares. Totally bad. And what happened was they always look for a market maker, somebody that will trash the product to force the stock to go down. The stock was selling for about $23 or $24 a share. That's been a while, hasn't it? It was 2009. $23 or $24 a share. And the market maker happened to be Time Magazine. A Time Magazine reporter drove a Tesla and trashed it. Drove it over 100 miles an hour on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, drove with the heated seats on and heated steering wheel, and windows down. And what happened was, of course, the car ran out of battery and had to be towed. And he wrote a scathing article. And guess what happened? The stock went down about a couple dollars. And I got to tell you, as Elon Musk's contemporary back in those days, because I had my own electric car company, we thought he was done. We thought he's going to be pushing up daisies. He's going bankrupt. There's no way. They're naked shorting his stock so bad, it will be worth 0.6 of a penny in a month. But Elon was pretty smart. He went and got the black box, which they didn't even know existed, got the black box out of the car. And he downloaded the abuse and documented the abuse. And then he published his own article. And he said, actually, yes, the car was trashed, and yes, the car did die, but it exceeded all design parameters. It exceeded all design parameters. And guess what? The stock bumped up just a little bit, like $3. It wasn't much. It went up to like $26. But what it did is it caught the naked short traders without stock. If your naked short goes south, in other words, the stock goes up instead of down, you have to deliver those shares. But these are naked shares. They don't exist. They're phantom shares. You created them just because you have a seat on the exchange, Citigroup. Well, they had to deliver the shares, and the only place the shares existed were on the market. So they had to buy them from shareholders. And the rest is Wall Street history. What happened was the shares went from $26 to $200 and something in a very short amount of time because Citigroup had to buy them. They had to buy them. They had to deliver them. And people saw the run, and they got in next to Citigroup, and they got in on the profit. And Tesla Motors dumped about 150 million more shares from treasury stock into the market while that was going on. And he banked about $400 million. And from that money, he paid off the $70 million loan guarantee that he had with the Department of Energy, which they were choking him to death with, slow paying and months-long invoice arguments and things like that. He paid them off and told them to stick the loan guarantee up their ass. And the rest is Tesla history. The rest is Tesla market cap history. That IPO, that run is going to pale in comparison to this one. I strongly believe this will be the first billion-dollar IPO in market history. And there will be no naked shorting of this stock. Now, I bring this up because what are they going to do with all this money? They're going to build a lunar base with it. $20 billion from NASA ain't going to mean shit next to $1 billion of raw equity. Yeah, it's going to be enormous. It's going to be enormous. It'll be the biggest IPO in history. Market down, Brooks Agnew said it. They have submitted the draft IPO. as I said, and I wanted to tell you this because I don't think there's many of you, and I don't think myself either, can get in on this IPO. You're going to have to buy a lot of shares to get in on the IPO. You might have to buy 10 million shares at a time. And I don't have that kind of money. I know you don't have that kind of money, but there is a fund out there. There is a fund out there called ARK. Okay? ARK Fund. ARK Fund. Hang on a second. I'll see if I can find the symbol for you. And I will let you know what it is. And the shares are selling for $49 a piece. Okay? Let's see if I can find it here. I want to think it's ARKX. Oh, now I can't find it on my phone. I'm members of this super chat, and they send me this stuff that is very important. I looked it up on Schwab. The shares are selling for $49 a piece. And you could afford that. You know, buy a few hundred shares of that and get in on the IPO. I think it's going to be a good return on investment. And if you look at ARKX's holdings, SpaceX is going to be one of their biggest jumps. They're doing well anyway, but remember I told you about fusion rockets, Rocket Labs, right? Anybody that got in on that? Anybody out there? I made 1,800% on my money. 1,800%. Yeah, ARKVX, there it is. ARKVX. Look it up on Schwab or Ameritrade or wherever it is you buy. I wouldn't do Robinhood. You know, Robinhood we call the losers board for a reason. You know, don't be a loser, okay? Don't be a loser. Go through a reputable regional broker and pick up your ARKVX shares there. Thank you, Jim, for that. Thanks for straightening that out for me. So that's why I brought it up. The report last week from Wall Street Journal said Musk wants to allocate upwards of 30% of the IPO stock to retail investors. That's like ARKVX. They're a retail investor. You're not a retail investor. And this is far beyond the typical allocation. He is also exploring giving priority access to loyal supporters, such as people that already own Tesla stock, individuals who have backed his other ventures. I'm not one of those, so I don't qualify. Last month, Morningstar released a note estimating that SpaceX generated nearly $16 billion in revenue in 2025. And by the way, that's a $7.5 billion EBITDA. That's profit. It drove, almost entirely by explosive subscriber growth from its Starlink satellite internet unit, which had 10 million active customers as of March. The company forecasts revenue of $150 billion in 2040, with EBITDA of $95 billion. Did I say that the IPO would be $1 billion? I meant $1 trillion. I meant $1 trillion. He would actually be able to raise $1 trillion. That's what it takes to build a lunar base. After the SEC review process for a possible IPO is complete, the question then becomes, what will SpaceX's ticker symbol be? Polymarket says X. I don't know if it's going to be SX or SpaceX or SPX. I don't know. There's no fixed SEC timetable from a confidential IPO filing to an actual public debut. I will keep you posted, of course, but if you want to get in on it early, you want to be one of those retail investors, there you have the link. Okay, ARKVX, ARKVX. All right, let's talk a little bit about redistricting. That's important because it affects the upcoming election. Yesterday, I don't know if you guys heard this or not. One of the states that is considering redistricting to make it impossible for Republicans to win an election was Michigan. And there was a 3-judge panel denied the Elias Law Group's motion asking the court to invalidate the Badger State current maps. That's the maps that they're already using for elections, opening the door to the redrawing of new congressional districts that would have only Democrats. In other words, they would slice up the pie in such a way that the Republicans would have no majority in any district. Of course it's partisan, absolutely partisan. But the important thing is that the court denied them. They denied them that gerrymandering power. The attorneys representing Wisconsin voter Elizabeth Bothfield and 10 other plaintiffs, did I say Michigan? I meant Wisconsin, thought they had a slam dunk case in a filing motion for judgment on the pleadings. The confident legal maneuver seeking a court remedy ahead of finding of facts hit a brick wall when the panel of liberal state court judges ruled that they had no authority to rule and dismissed the case. And because the plaintiffs have not shown that they are entitled to judgment as a matter of law, their motion for judgment on the pleadings is denied. Moreover, because only the Wisconsin Supreme Court can determine whether it violated the separation of powers doctrine when it applied the least change methodology, this claim must be dismissed. Boom, done, over with. Now, Republicans hold 6 of the 8 congressional seats in Wisconsin, which, by the way, they had a far-left governor, Tony Evers, a communist-sounding People's Maps Commission. Democrats are itching for a mid-decade partisan gerrymandering that goes well beyond Evers' compromise map as they attack the existing boundaries as the product of unlawful partisan gerrymandering, just because Republicans are winning. I mean, the hypocrisy is it's like, you can't divide a state up where Republicans can win. That's gerrymandering. We want to divide the state up so Democrats can win. We call that redistricting. Whatever. With divided government in 2022, Democrats in control of the executive branch and Republicans holding the majority in the legislature, the Wisconsin Supreme Court was forced to weigh in on the disputed state and federal political maps. The conservative majority on the court at the time ruled that the maps must comply with all constitutional requirements and that they follow a least change method. Here's what that means. The court-approved redistricting plan would have to remain as consistent with the previous maps crafted after the 2010 census as possible. Evers' proposed maps would most precisely fit the requirements the court ruled. The plaintiffs argued that those maps violated the Constitution's separation of powers doctrine because the court relied on least change methodology improperly in substituting the partisan judgment that prevailed in the 2011 political process for its own. I mean, that's balls. That's a very rich argument. Like, wait a minute. What's good for the goose is good for the gander here, but what the hell are you doing? Democrats loathed the political process behind the 2011 maps, which was controlled by the winners of the 2010 elections, Republicans. And by the way, Democrats sued then too and lost. But a subsequent Supreme Court led by the liberals that didn't take issue with the least change methodology, they just said, we can't rule on it. We don't have jurisdiction. Without a clear holding from the Wisconsin Supreme Court that the abandonment of the least change methodology applies to more than the crafting of remedial maps, this panel has no basis to find the current congressional map invalid. And so there it is. Wisconsin lost the argument. And it looks like Texas is going to win too. It looks like Florida is going to win too. So whatever Gavin Newsom tried to do in making it, disenfranchising Republicans in the state, because Republicans vote about 40% of the state Republican in California, and yet they only have 8% of the congressmen. So something's wrong there, obviously, but thanks to Adolph Newsom, that's the way it is. Let's see here. After Democrats took an electoral beating in the 2024 election, Elias promised to use more ruthless tactics to stop President Donald Trump. Democrats need to oppose and not simply resist a second Trump presidency. All legal tactics must be on the table. We must be comfortable with using every legal tool available to challenge Trumpism in court. The lawfare tool has shown he's not opposed to using any tool available to attack Trump. Elias failed presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager, played a central role in the Russia collusion hoax. He hired opposition research firm Fusion GPS, you remember this, don't you? And ex-FBI informant Christopher Steele. Now that sounds like the name of a spy, doesn't it? And they manufactured the famous dossier, falsely linking Trump to his 2016 presidential campaign to the Kremlin. And the scheme was aimed at crippling Trump's first term in presidency. And I think there's going to be some people go to jail over that. Tulsi Gabbard's been talking about it. Sidney Powell's been talking about it. And I think that Pam Bondi has a list of people that could go to jail over this. Yes, that's right, Jim Roddle. SpaceX makes about 18% of the ArcVX fund. That's a significant chunk. But as I said, it's a venture fund. You can invest in it and you can make money off all their investments. But if they're going to be a buyer in the SpaceX IPO, I'm going to go ahead and invest in it myself. And Washaki win, I get you. Nobody's going to go to jail. I get you. I'm frustrated with it. Everybody's frustrated with it. But, you can't do this stuff too soon. Well, let me put it another way. If you do it too soon, what happens is your legal powder gets wet. If you do it at the right time, relative to the election, you can really, really damage the Democrats. If they bring these criminal cases and they have to go to court and they have to be in court and answer questions in front of a judge under oath, and they're trying to run a political campaign, it's going to kill them. It's going to suffer. If it goes to court and they manage to take some legal sidesteps, they put up a bond or they get a delay or they get a change of venue or they get some judge recused or whatever, they buy time, it allows them to run for office and win. And once they win, all this goes away. The whole Justice Department goes away if they win. So that's why you can't do this too soon. If you do it too soon, your powder gets wet. Keep it dry, keep the pressure on, and indict them at the proper moment and arrest them at the proper moment and put them in orange jumpsuits and bring them to trial in chains. Okay? It is ARCVX, ARKVX. All right. You know that I have visited all the laser interferometer gravitational wave observatories in the world, right? Me, personally, flew there and walked through them and took pictures. That's LIGO for short. What is this? Oh. LIGO. And of course, they won the Nobel Prize because they discovered a black hole directly. They actually measured the presence of a black hole, which is what they were designed to do. They had to overcome a lot of challenges to do this. 3 main challenges they had to. First, they had to control the light beam frequency very closely so that it didn't drift a little bit, in frequency, light frequency. You wouldn't be able to tell with your eye, but they can tell with an instrument. Why is it important? Because the interferometer works off of the principle that the laser is following space-time. 4-kilometer laser, in the shape of an L, like a big framing square. 4 kilometers this way, 4 kilometers that way, and the source is right here in the middle. Yeah, so you split the beam, half goes down this tunnel, half goes down this tunnel, and they are supposed to arrive back at the central location, and they tune it to where the wavelengths cancel each other out. In other words, it's dark. Now, if the frequency drifts, you're going to get a signal, and that's not what you want. So the frequency's got to be controlled exactly. The second thing they had to overcome was vibration, local vibration. Wind, trucks driving by, earthquakes or little tremors, ocean waves crashing on the beach, thunder, all that stuff had to be tuned out. Local stuff had to be tuned out. Well, how do you do that? Well, you hang the mirrors from wires, and then you put a lot of weight in the mirror. Now, in order for a movement of Earth to go through those wires, and you've got this big inertia behind this sapphire mirror, the mirror is not going to move. Earth will move, but the mirror will stay stationary. And then the third thing that they had to do was they had to have parallax. Just because you have one Michelson-Morley interferometer, it's not enough. You need 3 active at the same time. And they have to be on the sphere of Earth. So there's one in Hanover, Washington, one in Livingston, Louisiana, and the other one in Italy. And when you turn them all on and link them by satellite so that they're all operating at the same time and scanning the same sector of space, you can triangulate and locate things in space that warp space-time because the laser is following space-time. So if some gravitational wave comes through the neighborhood and bends space-time, it's going to bend the laser beam. And when it bends the laser beam, you're going to get a signal because the wavelength of the laser changes. Because you're still traveling the same distance with the same frequency, but now you're traveling a new distance with the same frequency, and you get it like exactly a Doppler effect. What happens is the sine wave shifts, and when it shifts, you get a signal. Well, guess what they just discovered with it? A primordial black hole. This is a very special type of black hole thought to have been formed from dense pockets of subatomic matter within a second after the Big Bang. We've theorized that we've hypothesized that it existed. What we had to do is gather data to validate that it did in fact exist. Black holes are usually caused by, the collapse of supernova stars, or stars at least 4 times the size of our star. If the hydrogen burns up and all the helium causes the star to lose the explosive battle to gravity, and the star begins to shrink. And when it shrinks just so far, all of the electrons that are normally orbiting around, the atoms, the electrons are forced into the protons, okay, which neutralizes them, right? It neutralizes them. At first, it happens slowly, and then a little more, and then all of a sudden, it all happens at once. All the electrons are smashed into the protons. And what happens is you form a neutron star right at that moment. And there are no protons, they're all neutrons. But the shock wave is so powerful that it shears off the atmosphere of that star. We call it a nova or a supernova. And if it continues to collapse, gravity will get so intense that light cannot escape it. Light's traveling at 186,000 miles per second, right? Well, if the force of gravity is 190,000 miles per second, it can't escape. No matter how fast the light is, it can't get out. That's a black hole. And you think, well, gosh, black holes don't put off any radiation. How do we detect them? Because they're also spinning at their maximum speed to conserve momentum, right? They're spinning at their maximum speed. All that mass that was once spread out over a huge star is now collapsed into something 1/100th or 1/1000th that size. So like an ice skater pulling her arms and she's going to go faster, 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 faster. And that's what a black hole is. It's spinning at its maximum speed at all times, given the mass that it's absorbed. And that spinning is what ripples space-time. And that's what the LIGOs are there to detect. Those, evidently, that theory, what I just explained to you, they've been successful at doing already. That's how they won the Nobel Prize. But now, astrophysicists Alberto Magaraggia and Nico Capielluti from the University of Miami have caught sight of another kind of black hole using the laser interferometer gravitational wave observatories. The gravitational waves that LIGO detects are ripples across spacetime and can be triggered by the collision of two black holes. A signal picked up by LIGO and investigated by the researchers indicated a collision in which one of the objects was less than a single solar mass. In other words, less than the size of our sun. That means it is a primordial black hole. Most of the time, it has to be 4 times the size of our sun or bigger. But the most common black holes come from supernovas I just explained to you. But primordial black holes are expected to have much lower masses. They're still dangerous. We believe our study will aid in confirming that primordial black holes actually do exist. Further study of the signal known as S251112 CM is needed to know for sure, but the researchers say the existence of a primordial black hole with a subsolar mass is the most likely explanation. I'm going to show you a picture. This is the one in Louisiana. I have my own pictures of it, but I'm just going to share this with you. These are the tunnels I'm talking about. See this tunnel right here? This is 4 kilometers long right here. And see this tunnel right here? Well, it goes off screen 4 kilometers that way. And they originate and return via sapphire mirrors to this building. And in this building is where they are combined and where the measurements are made. This is it is a giant Michelson-Morley interferometer. And by the way, the laser beam right here at the base of this building is about 9 inches off the floor. Way out here, 4 kilometers, it's almost 9 feet. So you domers, you flat earthers, you need to realize that this laser right here, this 4 kilometer long laser, by the way, which shoots in a vacuum, strikes a sapphire mirror on the other side and bounces all the way back. So the signal is actually 8 kilometers long, making it very, very sensitive, down to sub-angstrom sensitivities. It's flat, and the Earth isn't, just to give you an idea what's going on. Yeah. All right. I think I've shown you pictures of the inside of these tunnels before. Mr. Magaraggia and Capielluti Also ran calculations on the expected frequency of primordial black holes in space. And from there, how often LIGO might be expected to spot them. That's pretty good, so you're not always shooting in the dark. It costs a lot of money to fire these interferometers up and coordinate them together. And you can't always do it because there might be storms or heavy winds or different things that mess up one of the interferometers, and so it can't be used for the measurement. In other words, you're going to have good weather, fair weather in all three locations: Hanover, Washington, Livingston, Louisiana, and in Florence, Italy. By the Florence, Italy people were much nicer, I'll tell you. Although I was admitted to all the areas of the other two LIGOs as well. But they gave a lecture. Of course, it was in Italian, but it's okay. They used all my slides anyway. I knew everything that they were talking about. And they had some non-Italian speaking, I don't know what nationality they were. They might have been Spanish, I'm not sure, but there was a busload of youth there. And they wanted some of this stuff explained, and so I explained it to them. And of course, the lady that, the engineer, the PhD that gave us the lecture, she's completely bilingual, but the lecture was in Italian. We had some time with her later on and were able to speak with her in English, and she was impressed with how much I knew. Not many people. I would say, I don't know, how many of you have been to any of the LIGOs, let alone all three, traveled the world and gone to all of them? I would say not many. I'd say less than 20 people in the world have done what I've done. Anyway, the results are encouraging. I'm excited about it. I think it would be something really great, a great instrument. All right, let's see here. That's it for black holes. Well, that's good. That's good. Let's look at what's going on in the chat room. The watchers are watching me. Whatever. That's going to be hard to do. You know, I'm almost impossible to follow. If somebody's trying to follow me and trail me, and they're going to see that guy just made a U-turn. He's good. He must know we're trailing him. Yeah, I would spot a tail a mile away. I take a different route every day. Just habit. It's just habit. Ever since my wheel fell off my truck in the middle of nowhere after stopping at a truck stop, I am very cautious. I'm very cautious. Let's see here. Maybe. Well, Flippy 2, you can always go back and listen to the archive. It's okay if you tune in late. All my archives are free. Free. You can go to Rumble and YouTube and Twitch and X and DLive and Foxhole and Truth Refugee, and you can listen to it for free. There's never a paywall here at America Free Radio. I don't make a penny off of what I'm doing here. I do it because I love doing it. You hundreds of people that are watching me live and thousands of people that will listen to the archive, I love you guys. And I like talking about the science, and both political and economic and real science. And I'm glad that you like to hang out with me. It's fun. Yeah, I don't know, Boy Dog Stew. I don't think anybody's going to get Bondi off her butt to make this happen. But, you know, I've read a couple things lately. Kash Patel's had a couple of base hits, really. And Bondi's had a couple of base hits. Okay. One of them was a bunt. But I think she put 9 of the Antifa people in prison. That's a start. But we're looking for the dirty 30, okay? We're looking for the top 30 criminals. You know, we're looking for Victoria Nuland and Hillary Clinton, and we're looking for Susan, and we're looking for, we're looking for the ones that have really, really done the bad shit. Huma Abedin and, Anthony Weiner. Come on, all these people that have been involved in this. We want them to go to prison. Yes, of course, Barack Obama, etc. By the way, I think they exhumed the body. They exhumed the body of the cook that was killed in Obama's pond. You remember when he was like out of town and then discovered he wasn't out of town? And yeah, there's a lot of shenanigans. And that case is going to be reopened too, I think. So I don't know. I like to say the jury's still out on Bondi for me, but gosh, I'm about a 1-year guy when it comes to attorney generals. Shit or get off the pot, okay? I hear a lot of clucking, but I don't see any eggs here, Bondi. I don't want to see any more Fox News appearances. Makeup, new makeup, I don't give a shit. I want you to do your job. You do your job, you'll have Fox News interviews forever. Okay? Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't know about Epstein. Okay, everybody that's seen the files, and I'm not talking about the names, the files, the pictures, the videos. Everybody that's seen those is sick to their stomach. They're scared that there are humans on this planet that can do that to a child. I can't watch it. No, I'm not going to see it. I don't want the images in my mind. My imagination's bad enough. But I don't want the images in my mind. I don't want to have it haunt me. These people are demons. They are demons that would do this to children. And all of the thousands of victims, they got to be somewhere. They're either buried, they're shark bait, or they've been paid. And the ones that are still standing, that are saying, I was a victim, please do something, it's enough. And you look at Lauren Boebert, and well, look what happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene. She got involved with it. She got frustrated with it. She stood on those grounds, and they would not let her say a word. They wouldn't let her mention a name. They wouldn't let her share a file. They wouldn't let her do anything. And she quit. She quit her damn career over this. And she's bitter. She's bitter to the politicians who gave her strength, who shared their strength with her. She was a faithful, strong MAGA supporter. And look what happened to her. She quit her job over this. I don't think she's going to run for president. No. That's all AI. I think she's done with politics. Look at Jason Chaffetz. Jason Chaffetz fought his guts out. He was the committee chair. He made referrals to the Department of Justice for real crimes that he had documented proof of, and nothing happened. He quit. He quit before his term was even up. He's done. He became a Fox News contributor. Everybody likes him. He's a good guy, very honest. He tried to do his job. Washington is so thick with these demons, it just can't be done. And so when you say the Epstein files, I know what you're talking about. I just don't know who we're talking about. But if they're on those films and they're in those pictures doing those things to kids, they need to fry. I'm sorry. I read it in the scriptures. It says it would be better that a millstone be hanged about your neck and you cast into the sea than what I'm going to do to you. Jesus is going to have his day with them. Well, before Jesus has his day, we want our day. Put these people in jail. We'll see you on Sunday night right here on America Free Radio. Godspeed, Earth Explorers.